Hello everybody and welcome back to another episode of Minecraft here as I'm flying over our mountains that we've been doing a little bit of progress on here since our last episode. So as you can see, I've been placing a ton more snow and ice and everything. This is about like 2 shulkers of materials between the ice and the snow. This is 2 shulkers of snow, but 2 shulkers between the 2 materials of ice and snow. And yeah, we're making progress. It's a work in progress. We have a lot more to go, obviously, down through here, but it's looking really good. I'm actually really happy with the way this slopes down into the road now. Feels a lot better. And if we take flight again, we can kind of take a look at how that ice comes down off the mountain. Kind of makes these little pools here. I think it's looking really well. And as you can see, we still need some more dirt, but we are also making progress on that front as well as I've just spent a little bit of time continuing to piece away at this a little bit. And obviously everything's looking really flat here right at the moment. We are gonna have to go through here and bone meal things up and probably place a bunch of rocks and stuff throughout just to make it look a little bit more natural. Maybe we grow a few sparse trees as well just to give it a little bit of texture, a little bit of life in here. But everything's coming out pretty good. I actually am super happy with how it looks right now. And as you can see underneath here, we do have kind of a mob spawner started under there, but that's fine. We'll come through here someday when we have netherite armor and we can actually defend ourselves in there a little bit, but that's okay. We can get to that later. The other thing that I've been thinking about while I've been out here is doing a proper interior to the castle. So we have this big area here that's completely empty, and we also have like what I'm calling like the workshop over here where we have our snowman that I've been grabbing our snowballs so that we can make snow blocks from. And I think like if we made this into a proper workshop for this guy, that we could come in here and... Why are you facing the wall? Alright, weird. But I think if we made this a proper workshop for this guy, I think that would come out really cool. And then we could obviously have this door being a little bit more accessible in here and everything. But yeah, I think a proper interior to the castle is much needed, but I don't think that's going to be today's episode. We'll come back to this at some point, especially as we finish up the mountain itself. I think it's only fitting that we have a proper interior to the castle. But the mountain is not where we're going to be spending our focus today. We are going to be back here in Gearville, continuing to work on things and making this town a little bit more proper. So far, this is all we have is a little bit of decoration and one single build with our AFK platform up there. We have this sugarcane farm that I've been messing around with a little bit. And for me, I just don't like it. I've tried a couple of different iterations of this style and everything, and it's just not working for me. So this is going to be the next time that I move this. I think I've moved this 3 times at the end of this episode. So yeah, we are going to be tearing this down, moving it once again, but that's okay because I have a plan this time. And a plan is necessary. I think that's part of the reason why I haven't been making a lot of good progress on this town is I haven't had a proper plan. So the steampunk feel is definitely a step for me outside of my norm. So having a proper plan was necessary, and I just didn't have one coming in. I had a couple of ideas in my head, like these pipes and stuff. The gears up here I thought were really cool. But yeah, I didn't have a good feel of the steampunk vibe. And again, I wanted to match my fantasy medieval style here that I have kind of incorporated in this building a little bit. But when I was building up the sugarcane farm and I was going to kind of do like an extra building over here, it lost that fantasy element, and I just kind of lost my groove with it all. But I spent a little bit of time in a creative world, kind of just letting my brain go through the motions, and I've kind of figured out a couple of builds that I'm pretty happy with. So I think, like I said, I'm gonna move this sugarcane farm. We are gonna rebuild it, and we're gonna build it over here and in this flat stretch of road. We're actually gonna connect it back up to this pipe too, which is gonna look really cool, I think. And then we're gonna be building on the other side of the road as well. But there's one more thing that I need to do, and that is to properly step into this town and really fully immerse myself. All right, and what better way to do it than with a brand new outfit and a brand new base? Before we talk about the base, let's talk about the outfit. That's right, we got ourselves a nice little steampunk-inspired outfit here. We got some nice chains on the vest. We got our boots with some buckles, and on the shoulder, you can see a little bit of a cog wheel there as well with some straps on our shoulders and everything. We got the nice burgundy gloves. I love this burgundy tone. I think it just looks so good. And if we look at the back of it, we have some more cog wheels here on the back, making it look like we're just kind of powered by the cog wheels of the town. And admittedly, this outfit took me a little bit longer than I'm sure it would have taken all of you. This took me about 3 hours to make from scratch. But yeah, I think it came out really good. I'm actually super excited, super happy with this. Let me know what you guys think in the comments below. I love this outfit, and I really hope you do as well. With the outfit out of the way, let's talk about the base, guys. Let's talk about this. Okay, so I was having a little bit of an issue with the starter base. One, it's pretty far away. It's not even in render distance here, and it doesn't really have a good storage system in it. So you might have noticed in the first clip where I have all of the chests and everything out here. We still have some barrels and everything out here right now, but we'll clean these up in a minute. But yeah, I was having some issues with the storage, and so I brought everything over here, organized them completely, and that way we could make up the space and get a new storage unit in place that I have, available to myself as I continue to build up this town. So let's talk about the base itself. We have this nice little crane here hanging off the edge. It's not holding anything yet, but once we put in one of these little through roads that kind of connects up this main road to the other main road over there, I think that's when we'll probably add something to this. We can see a little bit of an antenna here hanging off the roof on the top here. I think this is such a cool little detail. It's not very cyberpunky, but it just kind of adds a little bit of more a life and a little bit of more like technology to the environment, and it kind of looks haphazard, which I really love as well. Other than that, you can see we have these kind of like two bump out parts here. We have some redstone lamps. We're bringing in some color, but we're kind of keeping it muted, as you can tell. We have like the dark oak, we have the mud bricks, spruce, we have jungle wood, we have a little bit of oak, some birch as well. But yeah, everything is pretty like basic, honestly, but I do love the way it looks. We can see we have a little bit of mangrove here as well on the banisters, and on this side here we have some pipes that are kind of anchored to the wall using the chains and the grindstones. And so these pipes just kind of continue up over this major pipe here that we have. And like I said, I think it's going to be really cool and atmospheric as we just kind of have a bunch of pipes everywhere in our town. So I think these pipes are going to continue all the way across onto this street, like this side of the street. I think it's going to be really cool. They'll hook up to something over here eventually. Just not really entirely sure what yet, but I love this. I think it's going to be really cool once we get more stuff in place. This one right here, this blue one, I actually need to raise up one more block so that it passes over this pipe, but I think it's looking really, really, really cool. You can see here on the roof, we're kind of just texturing things up with the nether bricks here. We got the netherite and some granite, some polished granite and everything. And I try to use the nether bricks around the chimney to kind of make it look like shadow or just like soot or something kind of on it, which is kind of funny because it's a gray chimney. But I think it looks really cool. And there's actually one on the backside as well, but we'll get to that in a little bit, I think. But yeah, this is the outside. It's looking really, really good. You can see we actually have some more detail and everything. We have a couple of more windows up here, a bunch of like angles on the roof and everything is really cool. We have some spikes up here, and here's the other chimney that I was just referring to, and it looks like I missed a block right there, but that's okay. Again, using that same kind of shadowing technique on the chimney there, but I love this build so much from the outside. I think it's so fun and like chaotic almost. And as we make our way into the inside, those pipes from the outside continue on in here, and it looks like we're tapping into one of them here with a little bit of a hopper rod. What are these, lightning rod? I think that's what it's called. Yeah, lightning rod. I'm gonna have to fix that. But yeah, check it out, guys. We have a full interior as well. I did some fun things with the floor here, bringing in the basalt in the polished basalt. Just made it kind of look like this was like a little bit of a compass here in the main entryway. And over here, we're using the same blocks, but creating a new pattern. And for these three, they kind of look like carpets a little bit, especially when it was an empty room and these were the only things in place. So it looked like they were kind of like carpets spread out over here. I really, really love those as well. But yeah, we brought in some shelving units. I brought in some mini blocks that I was able to get off a wandering trader for the redstone lamps, which is really awesome. Using some using some of the candles that we got from our last expedition out into the trail ruins, so those are pretty cool, using those around here as well. We have this kind of like water cooler thing that we're using. It makes it look a little bit more steampunky and everything. We have a little library over here that we can add some more books and some more trinkets to as we go. But I love this. I think it's really fun and kind of creative. And then as we come upstairs, these pipes tie into a giant like furnace that goes up into our chimney. I do have to finish connecting it up to the chimney there, but I'm just not sure what I want to do with like the roof, because we don't have a bedroom in here. So I was thinking about maybe adding a third floor up here so that we have like a proper bedroom, but that's for later, Nick. I'm not going to worry about that right now. So yeah, this is our furnace here. We actually can use our furnaces in the corners of this thing. I just think it looks really fun as those pipes kind of connect up here and they connect up to the like across the street and everything. I think it's just chaotic and like fun. I don't know. I think it's cool. But as you can see, like the walls and everything up here are still really plain because I was kind of running out of supplies, as I mentioned earlier. So I built up this storage room, and as you can see, I kind of organized things. So we have our fences and everything, all these wood products here, but we don't have a lot of materials. Like most of these chests are empty. So yeah, we're gonna have to do something about that. And by that, I mean it's time for resource gathering. So starting with the more exotic blocks, I jumped into the nether to get the warp stem and the crimson wart. And then it was off to a nearby mesa plateau so that we could gather a ton of red sand to make the redstone variants. Classically, it was into the mines to gather a bunch of deep slate. Then lastly, I decided to plant up a bunch of the acacia trees so that we could gather a bunch of acacia wood. Alright guys, so with all those resources gathered up, it is time to rebuild our sugarcane bigger and better than ever. So for this build, guys, what I'm thinking is actually I'm going to go ahead and dig a big hole here in the ground where we can put our sugarcane farm underneath. That way we can save some space inside here for the collection system. Originally, I was going to have them up in the air. That way you could see the rail track going around, collecting up the materials and then putting them in the collection system. But what I think I'm going to do now is put this underground to save some space. And that way we can actually put more collectors underneath. That way we can make more materials, right? So what I'm thinking is using water columns to push them up and over into a collection system here in the center of the building. And like I said, I want to make this a little bit bigger, so I'm thinking of doing a double pod down here of the sugarcane farm. That way we can collect up all of our sugarcane. But on the right side of the building, what I want to do is the same thing, but instead of sugarcane, doing bamboo. That way we can start getting bamboo materials as well in this building. And then yeah, using water columns to push them up and over into a collection system here in the middle. That way we can start getting both materials and making this a little bit more efficient. So without further ado, what I need to do, like I said, is dig up a giant hole to fit this machine. Now with the hole dug, it's time to get the redstone in place, which we have our first units here in this shulker chest. So we'll put those in there and then we'll have to duplicate it on the other side. Alright, so you can see we have our farms in place here. We need to do a little bit of glass work on the outside, but I want to show you guys what we're going to be doing to get the items up there. So I have the track going around each individual one, and then we're going to send them over to here into a dropper system that's going to shoot it into a water column here that's going to shoot it up, and then we'll just keep a little water slide going and drop it down into the storage unit in this middle section here. So this one will have its own system as well. So it's going to look really cool once we get up there and start building it out. So I just wanted to show you guys that real quick. Alright, one last look here as we finish up. The farms are in place, dropping items into their chest and into this water column where you can see the bamboo is already bobbing. This thing is working pretty well for bamboo. The sugarcane is going to take a minute to grow, I think, a little bit slower than the bamboo itself. But everything's in place here, so the last thing we need to do is jump into a time lapse and build up a nice base for this. Okay, everybody, so let's take a look at this sugarcane farm, the new build for the sugarcane farm, rather, and check it out. Yeah, this thing is pretty massive, pretty beautiful in my opinion. I love this little trim here across the center. Then we bring it back in on the roof line. We have a little bit of the warp stem kind of peeking through. Originally, I had this top floor, all of the crimson, or not the crimson, rather, the warped blue, and yeah, it just, it was a little bit vibrant, so I just kind of stuck with the spruce in the second floor, brought the warp in on the kind of like the trim. I think it looks really, really cool. Obviously, we're missing some windows here, but we'll get to that in a minute. We also are missing a door. I'm not complete with this. I just wanted to kind of show you guys how it's looking so far, and I want to take you on over to the backside because I had to move our collection system down there. It wasn't lined in the interior how I imagined. So I just piped it back a few blocks and brought it back up through into the top floor like this with these two new pipes on the backside. I think they look really, really cool. I actually am really happy with the way they came out. I think once we kind of build out the landscape around these and add some more bits and bobs kind of connecting them and stuff, I think they'll fit into the landscape a little bit better. Right now they kind of stick out a little bit, but I actually like them. I think they're really cool, and I think they're going to work out really, really well. The other thing I wanted to show off was the roof. So we have all of these different stovepipes kind of pouring steam into the air. We have like the stains on the roof, and like we brought in the dark soot around the chimneys themselves. I really love the way the roof looks on this one with the multiple chimneys and everything. If we step into the interior, you can kind of see how those pipes are coming in through the wall there up high and coming and extending down into our collection system. So we'll have bamboo on this side, which is already producing really well. We have some sugarcane here producing already, so that's pretty nice. Ignore this hole. I haven't had an idea for that, but where we have these pipes coming in through here now, I think I might close that up and kind of move my plan that I had, but that's okay. But yeah, this interior obviously needs a little bit of TLC. It isn't mob proof. As you can see, we have an arrow here, and yeah, we have an arrow on the back of our head too. So yeah, we gotta mob proof this up a little bit. We gotta do some more decorating and everything, but this is looking really good, and it's functional now, so I'm really happy with this. But yeah, let's go ahead and add an interior to this. All right, and there we have it. Nice little decorated interior. I could still use a little bit of work, but I'm pretty happy with the way this all turned out. So I added some details to the piping here, adding some little copper pipes along the edges of it too, and underneath on this one. Added the stove in over here, which pipes up into one of our chimneys. Over here, I added like this kind of gear turning cog that we have. I think this came out pretty cool. It's just a little bit of a decoration that doesn't really serve much purpose, and it is kind of large, so it fills up a good chunk of space. Hung some lights from up above and added a few lamps on the edges and the corners of these areas just to kind of backlight things because we were having a problem with mobs. Other than that, though, I'm not really entirely sure what to do with like the up here, like around these windows and stuff. I'll kind of just leave that blank for now. And this area over here is kind of blank as well. We'll have to add a little bit more detail in there later on. But for now, I think this works out really well. Oh, and the other thing too was the floor. So yeah, I'm really having fun doing these floor designs, kind of adding mosaics around the floor. I think this looks really, really cool. And then in the corners, we added some lights, and I just covered them up with the black carpet just to kind of blend the floor in a little bit better. Maybe gray carpet will look a little bit better. But it looks pretty cool. I'm pretty happy with the way this turned out. If you guys have any ideas for like the corners and for the upstairs, let me know in the comments because yeah, I'll probably throw those in if you guys have any good ideas. One last thing that I want to address before the end of this episode is this brick that we've brought in along the edges. We had it over on our base too at the front door. So I think what I'm going to do is tear up all of this stone and replace it with this brick pattern. I think it's just going to look better once we get more buildings in, especially if we go over here to the base and our gunpowder farm. If we start bringing that brick in and you kind of get these dark tones kind of surrounding you with that red tone underneath, I think it's going to look a lot better than the gray here. The gray does all right, but it's just a little too vibrant. And so I think if we bring in the red up into this brown and up into this black and this dark brownish color here, I think that's going to look a lot better in my opinion. So yeah, I'm going to go ahead and tear up this road and replace it with the bricks and things like that. So yeah, let me see how that turns out. All right, ladies and gentlemen, that's going to do it for me in today's episode. A whole lot of progress made on Gearville today, with a whole lot more to come. I hope you enjoyed this episode, because I sure did. If you did, make sure you hit that like button. Don't forget to subscribe, and I'll see you guys in the next episode.